Previously on historical geocaching. My wife and I are visiting the Archaearium, an amazing archaeology museum in Virginia that shares the story of the Jamestowne colonists. Most recently, we've learned about the differences and forced similarities between the gentlemen soldiers and tradespeople. A portion of the museum is dedicated to sharing the story of Pocahontas. The exhibit begins with showcasing a sampling of Native American artifacts recovered by archaeologists, such as deer antlers, pottery shards, and arrowheads. When Pocahontas was born in the waning years of the 16th century, the world of her people, the Powhatans, was about to change in ways that even her father, Chief Powhatan, could not have foreseen. One of the most sophisticated and powerful peoples on the eastern seaboard of North America, the Powhatan chiefdom endured less than a century. But in that time, as a dominant force in the region, it had a profound effect on the English colony planted in its midst. The rise of Seneca was the central political development of the Chesapeake region in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. In the 1570s, Chief Powhatan inherited six regions between the upper James and York rivers, and from those beginnings expanded his influence through conquest and diplomacy over some 30 tribes. Virginia Indian men were well-documented visitors to James Fort, with some reported to have lived among the colonists. Aside from Pocahontas, Virginia Indian women were scarcely mentioned in association with the English settlement, but their presence has been confirmed through the archaeological record. On April 5, 1614, Pocahontas and John Rolfe were married. This union of an English gentleman and the favored daughter of Powhatan formally ended hostilities between the two peoples that had begun almost 5 years earlier. In the fall of 1609, increasing tensions between the Powhatans and English erupted into a full-scale war, one of the main causes of the starving time during which two-thirds of Jamestowne's colonists died. The warfare escalated after 1610 as the English retaliated in brutal raids on Indian communities along the James River. The English, seeking trade to the north with villages outside of Powhatan's immediate influence, learned that Pocahontas was among the Potawatomis and orchestrated her capture. Pocahontas was kept under close guard for nearly a year at James Fort. During her captivity, she observed English custom, learned the language, and met planter John Rolfe. She converted to Christianity, taking the name Rebecca. Rolfe asked and received permission to marry her from Chief Powhatan and Deputy Governor Thomas Dale. Rebecca and John Rolfe were married in the church at Jamestown on April 5, 1614. Thus, forming a political alliance that ended the war. Virginia's investors saw great value in the conversion and marriage of Pocahontas. To the English, she was an Indian princess and living proof that the native peoples of Virginia could be converted to Christianity and English ways. In 1616, Pocahontas, now Rebecca Rolfe, traveled to England along with her husband and young child Thomas to promote the Virginia colony. She was a sensation in London, where the aristocracy and gentry flocked to see her. She was even introduced to Anne of Denmark, James I's queen. However, this happy interlude would not last long. In March 1617, Pocahontas died from a lingering illness as the ship traveled back to Virginia. She was buried in the chancel of St. George's in Gravesend, England, on March 21, aged 22 years. Although Pocahontas was never to return to Virginia, her legacy remains intact through her tragic and compelling story that will forever speak of the social, political, and cultural entanglements between the Virginia Indians and the English who came to settle among them.